I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, which for me is the Larrakia people. I would also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. I acknowledge the profound impacts of domestic violence on individuals, families, and the wider community in Australia. I support initiatives aimed at preventing domestic and family violence and creating a space where everyone feels safe and supported. Finally, I wish to acknowledge that we all come from different places and have different circumstances. I respect and welcome our collective differences, and I strive to create a space where all voices are heard and valued, and where everyone feels comfortable in engaging and participating. I will ask you before we get started to turn off your microphones until you have a question at the end, but it would be great if you could turn on your video, because it is really nice when a presenter can see other people's faces. I do acknowledge though that some of you will be eating lunch and you may not wish to. Today's session will be recorded and will be made available on the Anima-Co YouTube channel in the upcoming weeks for those who would like to listen again or share it with your friends and colleagues. You can check out our other speakers there too. If you're interested in upcoming Lunch with Leaders events, please check out the What's On page at the Anima-Co website. And if you're not on our email distribution list and you would like to be, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email and we'll sign you up. There will be a survey at the end of today's session. We really value your input and feedback in terms of what's worked for you and what you'd like to see us improve, as well as suggestions for potential future speakers. So if you can take a minute or two to fill out that survey, there's only about 5 questions and it will really help us. Our next session is with Mark Brennan on the 20th of March for those of you that are interested, and it will be held at the same time if you want to pop a calendar placeholder in your diaries. Mark Brennan is the UNESCO Chair on Global Citizenship Education for Sustainable Peace and the Professor of Leadership and Community Development at Pennsylvania State University. And now I'm going to move on to today's speaker. We're joined today by Megan Bayliss. Megan is a professional communicator and a mental health accredited social worker in the final throes of her PhD. In her down-to-earth and humorous lunchtime chat with us, she is going to provide us with 4 communication formulas to use again and again. These formulas are the gold that will help you develop expert listening and responding skills. A TEDx and Pecha Kucha speaker, Megan also creates pseudo-educative digital content to reach people who may otherwise never speak to a mental health professional. Megan specialises in professional supervision and burnout prevention coaching to rural and remote social workers, because she has also lived and worked remotely from Papua New Guinea to Cape York Peninsula to Norfolk Island and now in Nhulunbuy in the Northern Territory. You can connect with Megan on LinkedIn. And on that note, Megan, I'm going to open it up to you.
Thank you, Anne. And before I begin, I would just also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of all of our lands, seas and airs, but particularly the Ruratingu people. I'm in East Arnhem Land in Nhulunbuy, so I pay my respects and give thanks to them for sharing their land with me. Now, have you all got pen and paper? Because I'm not doing slides. Yeah, good, Justine, thank you. This is going to be a really quick overview of communication techniques. But first, before we begin, where's all my quantitative people, stats people, accountants like my husband there, Paul, the people who deal with numbers all the time? Just put a yes in the chat box for me. Have we got heaps of you? And I can't see the chat, of course, Chantel, so you might just have to tell me. None? Okay.
No one's writing. No one's writing.
Scared. Don't be scared, people. Yeah, this is about communication. Yeah, Rob's going, oh. Oh, Paul Martin, yes, of course, we know you are. Yes. I'm not a numbers person. That's why I'm married to an accountant. Oh, yeah, Ruth, yeah, we've got a few coming through here. This is good. Right, so you numbers people, you're going to love this, because this is a talk about formulas. Now, I'm a qualitative person. I do words. But when you put numbers and words together, you get a really nice set of skills to be able to deal with all people. So this is the talk about formulas, and communication has several formulas that is really easy to learn, and these are like the 101 of counselling skills. So you're not going to walk away today as professional counsellors. I need to make that clear. That's a 4-year degree, but you are going to now have the secret sauce that counsellors use to clearly communicate with people. So I'm going to share with you 4 formulas. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Communication is incredibly important. The way you say something makes a difference. Now, think of the way you talk to a dog, and I've got my dog here beside me, so I'm hoping he doesn't bark. But, you know, I could say to him, "You're an ugly, mongrel, flea-ridden thing." And, you know, he'll cower down. Or I could say exactly the same thing in a loving tone, like, "Oh, you are such an ugly, mongrel, flea-ridden thing." And he's going to wag his tail, thinking he's going to get a treat or something. So the tone in communication is very important. Now, part of the definition of being a professional is having the ability to clearly articulate what it is that you do. So for those who have done any legal work, and any of you that might be in the social sciences who have also been called to court as expert witnesses, you know that you need to know what it is that you're doing. You need to have the words to explain why you said particular things to different people. For those of you who write case notes as well, this is incredibly important to be able to say what the formula is that you have just used. So I'm giving you those formulas today. You need to write them down. You need to practice them. Now, I have caught myself out in a little lie here, because I told you that I was going to share with you my 4 perfect formulas of communication. The lie is I'm not. I always believe in value adding, so you're getting 6. You're going to get 6 formulas today. So let's start. Now, the very first one is a formula for effective attending. People are not going to listen to you until they know that you're listening to them. So the very first thing that you've got to do is to effectively attend. Now, the formula for this is SOLER, SOLER. Now, it's an acronym, obviously, and the S stands for sit square onto someone. And that doesn't mean that you sit, you know, knee to knee, but you need to be able to sit in a square position so that you can at least see each other's eyes. Now, cultural implications come into play here as well. Lots of Indigenous people and lots of First Nations cultures don't appreciate the stare. So we're not talking about staring at somebody all the time. We're talking about being able to look up and see their eyes, and then you can look away, but sit square on. The second one is O, which is always have open body language. People read your body language. When you're talking to them, they're reading you just as much as you're reading them. So if you're always like this, somebody is going to read you as either freezing because the air conditioning is up too high, or, you know, you're in Blaney where it's, you know, snowing, or it could be that you're really closed. So you need to have open body language to be conducive to communication. Then we've got L, which is lean slightly forward. And I'm not talking about leaning forward like this so that it looks like you're looking down somebody's cleavage. It's just ever so slightly forward. I like to give the example of when you go to a coffee shop and you're watching people in relationships. It's so beautiful. You can see solar happening automatically. So they're looking at each other and they're leaning ever so slightly forward. A bit like you and I, Paul, hey, when we go out for coffee, instead of scrolling on our phones. So you sit square on, you have open body language, and you are leaning slightly forward. So that tells the other person that you are giving them the respect of listening to them, and they're going to listen to you. The E is eye contact. Now, I've already covered that in the first one, where you sit square on, but eye contact, you must be able to have eye contact with the other person, because communication is also nonverbal. So you need to be able to look in their eyes, and you're quickly assessing everything about them. The final one, R, is relax. Just listen to what the person is saying. Most of us are so busy in our head thinking about what our response is going to be.
Now head.
That we miss exactly what is being said. So relax and concentrate on that person. Okay, so in all of that, there is something called minimal encouragers. And minimal encouragers are the little noises that keep the other person talking, but it also lets that person know that you are listening. So it could be things like, Yeah, you can also use your body, like, So minimal encouragers are a really important form of communication. So does that make sense to you guys? SOLER, S-O-L-E-R. That is the first step of effective attending. So then we move on to something from cognitive behavioral therapy, and this is about thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Who can tell me which one would come first? Is it thoughts, feelings, or behaviors? You can either just sing out, I'm fine with that, or drop it into the feelings. Sarah says feelings. Yep, feelings. I missed E. Eye contact, Shelley. Feelings. Okay, feelings. So feelings is, another one, feelings. Okay, darlings, I hate to tell you this. It's not feelings. The first, Paul Martin says feelings as well. Paul Martin. Joanna, feelings. Right, guys, it is thoughts. The first thing that happens is you have a thought. And that thought in your head, Varunka got it correct there, thoughts. You have a thought, and that thought in your head releases a chemical from the brain, from the organ that's inside your head, the brain, and then that chemical travels through your body and it lands somewhere in your body. Now, this all happens very quickly. It's actually 8 seconds to complete the loop. Oh, Jani's there too. So she got that, thoughts. And then that chemical lands in your body and you actually feel it. Who's ever had goosebumps? Who's ever used the language that says, I feel like somebody just walked over my grave? Or you feel butterflies in your stomach, or you feel hot or cold. That is the thought, the chemical that's released from your brain that is landing in your body. So thought, feeling, and then that feeling drives behavior. So there's affect, behavior, and cognitions. Affect is just a fancy word for feelings. Thoughts come first, followed by feelings, followed by behavior. Now, if you're trying to help somebody in a workplace change their behaviors, you need to help them change their thoughts. To help somebody else change their thoughts, you also need to work on your own thoughts. You need to be crucially aware of what's going on in your head, what's going on at a feeling level, and then what's going on for you at a behavioral level. So spending time on getting to know yourself, investing in yourself, in your own self-development is crucial for everybody. This is not just some silly counseling thing. This is dealing with people, vitally important. Right, so let's move on then to non-violent communication. So we've gone, I'm just looking at my notes here. We've done 2 so far. Let's go on to the non-violent communication, which is the formula for clear communication. Now, this one is a game changer for most people. This formula is, I feel, ... when you ... because ... So I feel, and you drop in a feeling. Now, in the English language, there are over 3,000 feeling words to choose from. But typically, as adults, we use 6 feeling words, and those 6 feeling words fall in sets of 2. So extremes, happy, sad, hot, cold. We don't develop our emotional literacy. We don't develop our emotional language. So all of us need to continue to work on that. When I was teaching at uni, I taught the subject that was hated the most by all of the students. So they had to, every single day in their journal, write 3 feelings that they had experienced during that day. And what a struggle it was, because we're so disconnected from our feelings. We're so used to either thinking and behaving and crossing out the feelings altogether, that it's left our language. So for all of you, think of this morning, the different feelings that you've had. Can you give them names? This is vitally important. So I feeling, when you. Now, when you is a behavior. So I feel happy when you all turn up for the webinar. That's the behavior. And the because, the last bit, I feel when you because is your cognitions around it, your thinking around it. So the cognition is I feel, the formula ABC here, affect, behavior, cognitions. I feel happy when you all turn up to the webinar because how embarrassing to be able to present to just Anne and Chantel. Like, wouldn't that be horrible? So you can use this for both the positive and feelings that lots of people say are negative. I don't see any feelings as negative because they're feelings. We all have feelings that other people might think are negative, but they're still feelings. So there's no positive, negative for me. They're just feelings. So affect, behavior, cognitions, A, B, C, it must fall in that linear fashion. Affect, behavior, cognitions. I feel when you, because. Now within that, you can change the tense. You can't change the flow of the ABC or this doesn't work for people, but you can change the tense. So it could be I felt or I will feel. Change that. The next one, when you, it could be when I, when they. And then the final one, because. Lots of people actually leave because out and they just go straight into their thoughts. That's fine as long as it is affect, behavior, and cognitions. Right, so the next one is, this is one that you might all know, digital signaling processing, the THER model. Does anybody know what the THER model is? Fact, impact, and results or reward. Now, this is a really interesting one and one that I've had to learn some big lessons around. I used to use the sandwich model when I would give feedback to staff. So it would be a positive, a negative, a positive. And of course, it never worked because when somebody hears the negative, they then stop thinking. They don't hear another positive. So they hear a positive, then they hear the negative and they ruminate on that negative. Right? So I used that for a long time and just couldn't understand why I was getting anywhere. It was when I was doing my Brené Brown training that this one was introduced. It wasn't a Brené Brown formula, but it was introduced and it just clicked for me. So what you do is you give somebody the fact, then you tell them what the impact of that fact is, and then you either tell them what the result is going to be or you reward them for the really good behavior. So an example is I had a staff member that was always 10 minutes late, always. And I said to admin, I'm going to change her work hours so that she starts half an hour later. That's obviously going to suit her family commitments better, but it means that she's going to miss out on something else we had going on. And the staff member said to me, the admin said to me, but if you change her work hours, she's still going to be 10 minutes late. It's a game for her. Like she doesn't want to be on time. She wants to be late. So I went, okay, I'll try FIR with her. So the fact was, listen, you're always 10 minutes late. If you want to have a look back through the work logs, you'll see for the last 2 months, you have always been 10 minutes late. Now, the impact of that is that it holds the bus up. You're working on a day when we have a bus booked to take all of our women out on country to do what they want to do, and it holds them up. And part of the problem with that, this is the result now, part of the problem with that is that somebody else who really wants to come misses out because they cannot be 10 minutes late for their next appointment. So we've got a woman who was really unhappy with our service. Now, when I did that, the FIR model, fact, impact, and result, it completely changed her because she didn't realise that her behaviours were impacting somebody else. So when I changed it to reward, so I changed result to reward, I said, if you can be here on this particular day every morning at 9 o'clock, I'm going to give you some time off in lieu. You can have a Friday off. And she took it. So it was amazing to me, and I've used it ever since because I saw it work so well with this person who was habitually late. So that's the FIR model. The next one is psychocommunication, and it's about accountable communication. Now, who has ever had a very difficult person to work with where you have to like really deliver some horrible, yeah, and it's not pleasant, but there is a formula for that. Yeah, I'm with you, Kate, everyone, yep. So the formula of accountable communication is no hedging, no hiding, be civil, and teach or learn. So no hedging. Things are not going to get better. If you've got a problem in the office, it's not going to go away overnight. So don't hedge your bets about this. Don't wait for it to get better. Actually address it right then and there. No hiding. Don't hide what the issue is. Spell it out. You've just got to address it. No hedging, no hiding. Be civil. Now, remember in the beginning where I talked about the tone with my dog? It's all in the tone. So if you're going to come in with a really aggressive tone, like and rolling your eyes, and your body language is saying that you're really pissed off here, the other person feels that, and it doesn't do you any favors. So communication, remember, is also nonverbal. It is not just these formulas. It's also in the solar. It's in the way you hold yourself. It's in the way that you show the other person the respect of listening to them. So no hedging, no hiding, be civil, tone, and teach or learn. Teach the person what you want them to do. Or it could be the opposite. It could be that you actually have something to learn because the staff person might tell you a piece of information about their personal life or about their work life that you didn't know. Example here is I have a sit-stand desk and I never sit. I always stand. So when I go to other people's workplaces, they always offer me a sit desk and it hurts my back. I cannot sit for too long. So sometimes the other person has to learn that I work best standing up. You don't have to fuss around me. Just give me somewhere I can stand. And when Paul and I were away recently at a friend's house, staying at a friend's house, I put my laptop on top of the microwave and I worked standing up in front of the microwave. Now, people might have thought that I was a bit insane doing that, but I was absolutely fine. So the learning for them is this is how I work. And if I hadn't have said something, they would never have known. And I didn't actually think to tell people that it's because of my back. I just always stand. Okay, so the next one, we've got the accountable communication. Here comes my favorite, the psychoeducation model. And this is what my PhD is in psychoeducation. This is a debriefing model. Bad things happen to good people. It doesn't matter what you do, how clean your lifestyle might be, bad things still happen to good people. And we all need to have some sort of a debriefing model to go through with our friends, our family, and our colleagues. So nowadays, if you call in EAP, it's usually a week or two after a major event. So they will go straight to psychoeducation. But this model that I'm about to share with you is a critical incident stress debrief that you can do immediately following something bad that's happened. So the model is fact, feeling, symptom education, coping plan, and follow up. So it goes like this. If I'm doing the debrief, and I've done debriefs for many years, I've worked in rural and remote areas where there's been some really, really awful stuff happen. So they'll call me in to do a group debrief. It could be a group debrief with either a big family group or a group debrief with a work team, but a lot of people together. So I hold the space. I go in and I act as though I'm the boss. I tell people, be quiet, this is what we're doing. So you can do this with this model because it has to be delivered like this. Fact, I'll use a real example. A child has drowned, right? A child has drowned and huge family, and the family are very, very angry because this child should not have drowned. And people are starting to yell at me. They're wanting to talk about their feelings. And I go, right, no, sorry. Can you just hold that? I'm coming back to you. We are here to talk about the facts of the situation. I don't want any feeling. You're all going to get your turn. So I'm going to go around everybody. Let's talk about the facts. What do you know about the facts of this situation? Because I don't know what you know. And if they start telling me feeling and they start getting angry, I put my hands up and I say, no, stop. That's the next bit. At the moment, we're only talking about the fact. I've got to get it in my head. And I go around to everybody. Can you add any more fact to this? Have you got any more fact? Have you got any more fact? And we end up with the nice factual picture. The next one is feelings. Right. I start with the person I started with on fact. I now go, tell me about your feelings associated with this. I just cannot imagine what this must be like. So tell me what's happened. And they go through the feelings. And I go through it with everybody. So everybody gets this say. So we've got the facts and the feelings. And then there is symptom education. Now, people need to know what's going to happen to them. When the brain goes into crisis, it does some really strange and silly things. For example, they can't sleep. They have intrusive memories. They have intrusive thoughts like, I'm going to kill that person that wasn't watching my kid. And they ruminate on it. So I tell them the brain structure and what's going to happen. Now, you do not have to have 30 years of practice experience to do this. All you have to do is look up debriefing and symptom education on Dr. Google or AI, and it's going to tell you. So any of you can do this. We go through all of that symptom education, including this is a time when it would be better that you don't drink too much alcohol, smoke too much weed, do things that that group might be doing. Let's just let our brains settle. And you can do things like pat the back of your head when you're feeling really stressed. Just pat the back of your head because it's helping to soothe parts of your brain that need immediate soothing. You can squeeze your fingers here, either side of your fingers. If you squeeze them, you're squeezing into pressure points. And those pressure points are the ones that help to soothe your brain. So I'll give them very practical stuff like that as well. The next one is coping plan. So together we do a coping plan. How are we all going to look after each other? What are we going to do? Who do we need to call in? So as a group, we decide all of this. The final stage is the follow-up. And this stage is actually the most important of all, because during a critical incident, if you say that you're going to do something and you don't do it, you've just lost the person and you've created harm. So it's very important in the coping plan to let the person know that if you want me to ring you every day, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I had a very recent example of somebody I was working with that had a dreadful, it was a murder, a dreadful incident. And I told that person that every 2 days I would check in and together we would do the formula for clear communication. I feel when you, because one of the things that happened was that this person's, the vocal part of their brain shut down. The trauma was so great. So they needed to be able to reconnect with speech and their feelings. So every 2 days, I contacted this person for a week until she had other people that could come in and help her. Right? So it's as easy as that. It is fact, feeling, symptom education, coping plan, and follow-up. Now, you can all do this. It's very, very easy, but you can't do it until you've got the formula. Now, if any of you are called to court at any time and the court wants to know, well, why did you say that to that person? You need to be able to say that I followed the formula of whatever the particular formula is. Remember that part of the definition of being a professional is having the ability to clearly articulate what it is that you do. We are all sitting here today as professional people. We all come from different disciplines. We all have different formulas that we use in our daily life, but all of us communicate. So all of us can use these things. Now, I think I've probably gone on with enough, and I'm going to open up for questions, if that's all right, Anne. Any questions at all? This is now fair game. It might not be about these particular formulas that I've just shared with you. It could be something about dealing with people. This is not counselling advice, though. Let me just make that clear. This is just ideas. So, questions, people?
Thanks so much, Megan. I'm going to start with the first question, if that's all right, while we wait for people to put their hands up or put something in the chat. Either way is fine. Megan, can you just go back through each of those and just talk through when you reckon is the best time to use each of those? Because they're tools, they're tools, but they also have a very different, they can have a different focus or use. So can you just go back for everyone and just go through individually each one so that we can get a clear understanding of when the best time to use each one is?
Absolutely. Effective attending can be used at any time you want the other person to know that you are listening to them, or if you want to encourage them to talk to you. I heard a story once, it was just so beautiful, of, and it was one of my colleagues. They had a baby in the high chair, and Dad, who is this, real shit hot therapist, like everybody loved him. Yeah, he was the gold standard. And he prided himself on always using all of the communication techniques well all the time. But at breakfast, he's sitting there and he's reading the paper. This was before everybody read online. So he's reading a physical paper. The baby is in the high chair calling out for him, and Dad's using minimal encouragers, going, letting the baby know that he's talking. And the baby started saying, ta, daddy, ta, daddy. So Daddy put his hand out, and the baby had taken its soiled nappy off and put it fair in Daddy's hand. So if Daddy had been using effective attending, he would have known, because he would have been leaning slightly forward. He would have had eye contact. He would have seen what was going on, right? So that's why effective attending and the making eye contact is so important, because you need to hear more than the voice. You need to know what's going on. Effective attending all the time, all right? So the next one was solar. Oh, sorry, that is effective attending. The next one was the CBT, thoughts, feelings, behaviours, all the time. Affect, behaviour, cognitions. This is something that you don't have to actually practice out loud. You just need to be aware of in yourself that thoughts come first, followed by the feeling, followed by the behaviour. So what's your thoughts? If you want to quickly change your life, change your thoughts. Because when you change your thoughts, everything else changes. Now, it takes practice. There's actually, and Paul Martin, you might correct me here if I get this wrong, because it's a math thing. It takes approximately 1,000 times over a 3-month period, 90-day period, to either change a behaviour or to drop a behaviour. So to change a behaviour, you want it to become habitual so that you just do it without even trying. Or to drop a behaviour, you have to purposely do it 1,000 times over a 90-day period, and that equates to 12 times a day. Have I got that right, Paul? Yeah, okay, thank you. So 12 times a day of either consciously doing something new, which might be being really aware of changing your thoughts. I hate housework with a passion. And if I wanted to change that, which I don't, but if I wanted to change that, I would need to catch myself in that thought 12 times a day to say something like, housework is fun. It's never going to happen for me, but that's just an example of how many times you would have to change that thought. If you're a smoker and you want to give up smoking, you have to purposely not reach for that cigarette 12 times a day for the next 90 days to become a habitual non-smoker. Right? So that can be used anytime. The clear communication, I feel when you because, you can use that at any time as well. That should become habitual for all of us. Now, our youngest son is autistic, and when he was 3, he was expelled from daycare long, boring story there, but that was what actually started me on my journey of we've got to get communication right for all people. So I taught him the I feel when you because, and I taught him to recognize the body language in other people, read their face, match their face to these little icons of, you know, different feelings, and then that might be how they're feeling. So if a 3-year-old with autism can learn this, we can all learn it as well. So I feel when you because, and there's over 3,000 feeling words to choose from. So we need to increase our vocabulary around that. So do it anytime, all the time. Become really conscious of it. So the next one was the FIRM model. The FIRM model I actually use when I don't know what else to do. So I don't use this one all the time. I use it when usually the clear communication hasn't worked with somebody. You know, I feel disappointed when you don't turn up to work on time because our bus is waiting and then our bus can't go to whatever. Yeah? So when I've used clear communication and it's not working, I will go to the FIRM model. After the FIRM model, if that's still not working, I will go to the accountable communication, no hedging, no hiding, be civil and teach or learn. So that's usually the last thing that I will do is the accountable communication. Now, thank you, Kate. I'll get to that in a minute. Sometimes none of these will work. I have had situations where I have pulled out all communication stops and it has not worked with anyone. And that's when I walk away, because the other person clearly doesn't want to change and they don't want to engage in any form of civil communication. So I don't waste my time. I've also had a situation that I'm really embarrassed about, but where I yelled at somebody. And I'm not talking about my husband, but there was somebody who had just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed to the nth degree. Nothing worked. So a relationship over. Yeah. And it was in the street as well. So it, you know, sometimes good communicators also get things wrong. But when nothing else works, walk away, because we can't help everybody. Debrief model, when to use that. So the model that I've shared with you is more about a critical incident debrief when something bad has happened. Now, my first training as a therapist, the M in the, oh no, it's just FIR, sorry. So the question there was, what's the M in the FIRM model? It's the FIR model, FIR. So you've got them all. I lost my own train of thought then. What did I say?
You were talking about the debrief model.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So the critical incident debrief model happens when there has been a critical incident and you can use it straight away, right? A psychoeducation model, which is where you're only talking about this is what's going to happen. So it's about the symptom education. That can happen maybe up 2 weeks after a critical incident. So I then don't do the fact and the feeling. I just go into symptom education, coping plan and follow up. But it's a good one to be using if somebody comes to work and they're really upset and something bad has happened. So my first training as a therapist was as a child sexual assault therapist, and I did 22 years in the sexual assault field. And part of our, I guess, our mandate and our best practice was we weren't allowed to be friends with our clients. Right? And there are various reasons why, because it's a power dynamic. The therapist holds more power than the client. But I always argued with sexual assault was that it's not somebody else's fault that they have been sexually assaulted. It is not another woman's fault that they have been raped. So if anything happens to my friends, I am going to step in and I am going to use my professional skills to help that person. So it was a big no-no, and I didn't ever get wrapped over the knuckles for it. But there's no statute of limitations on sexual assault in Australia, so maybe it will still come and bite me. But you can sometimes challenge things as well. Like, it's not somebody's fault they got raped. Of course I'm going to help. I am not going to turn around and say, go away. You need to go to somebody else. because people talk to friends. And that's why having these communication models, these formulas, is so important. Friends talk to friends. You don't have to be a therapist to be able to respond in the best way possible. So I think I've covered them all there. That's the 6 that I got. SOLAR, CBT, nonviolence, digital signalling, psychoeducation, and then the debrief model. Yes. Right.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan.
You're welcome.
So Kate in the chat has said, this is a bit off topic, but do you have any communication tips for when there is a new staff member, especially in a situation where there is a new person starting as your boss, but you've been there for a long time and have lots of knowledge, but don't want to come across as trying to be in charge?
I think Kate must have been listening to my client this morning, because we've just had this conversation. Yeah, this is a very, very difficult one, Kate, because of the power imbalance. So what I said this morning to the person was actually to use the FIR model. The fact of the matter is, I have been here for a very long time, and I hold a lot of corporate knowledge. The impact of a new person coming in and relying on us when we're so busy is taking a toll on everybody. And the result is we would like to have an extra half an hour on the staff meeting so that we can go through the way we do things so that you get it quickly. Right, that's what we went through this morning. Now, Kate, that might not suit your situation, but certainly the FIR model would fit in that situation. The other thing is the formula for clear communication. I feel when you, because. Now you can practice this on your dog, on your kids, on your husband, on your friends for positive feelings, and also some of the things that people say are negative feelings. So it could be in your situation that I feel frustrated when you come in and you don't know our processes because it's putting us all behind the 8 ball, or whatever. You will find something that suits your situation, Kate, but try those 2 formulas, see how it goes. The other thing is, you don't have to say it directly to the person, the clear communication formula. You might be able to say it to your partner or to another colleague, because when you're actually verbalizing how you feel, there's some healing in that. I prefer to say it directly to the person, but I understand that that doesn't always go very well for people.
Fantastic. And Kate said thank you there. Any other questions? People can either turn on the mic or put something in the text box. Megan, I'm going to ask you something, and I think this is the reason that I first contacted you initially, was around, and I think you brushed over it very early in today's presentation, but I'm just wondering if you can comment on authentic communication, because that's something I think that comes up a lot, and maybe there's people that would really value authentic communication and don't always get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my best tip for authentic communication is to use the clear communication formula, the I feel when you, because. Now, people can't be authentic until they actually know what their own values are. So I said earlier, invest in yourself, know yourself, invest in personal development. Very, very important. When you know your own values, you know where your boundaries are. You know what you're willing to cop and what you're not willing to cop. So to respond to somebody authentically, just to warn them off where your boundaries are, would be, I feel frustrated when you continually tell me that I'm no good because I'm trying the hardest that I possibly can, right? That's authentic. Now, Brené Brown also has 2 different models of leadership. So there's armored leadership, which is what a lot of us do. We put on our armor to protect ourselves, particularly as managers, because people are always after us. We're always wrong, right? Staff always know better. Staff have got better skills. So as managers, we armor up, and armoring up is how leadership has been done for a very long time. They deflect the bullets, they push it back on people. But authentic leadership, wholehearted leadership, is about knowing yourself and allowing your vulnerability to show in the workplace as well. Paul and I have just had to shoot off to Cairns. Our son was in ICU, extremely ill. It was a horrible, horrible situation. And I didn't hide it. I don't think Paul hid it either in his workplace. But people need to know that you also are impacted by things. And sometimes you're not going to be on your best game because life gets in the way of all of us. So armoured leadership is old school. Wholehearted leadership is new school. And wholehearted leadership is all about knowing yourself and accepting the diversity. I know this is not supposed to be political, but I look at everything that's happening in America and I just shake my head. Like, how dreadful. There's nothing wrong with diversity. Diversity is fantastic and we need to be celebrating that. So we need to understand that during Ramadan, some people are going to need different work hours. We need to understand their vulnerabilities as well. You know, Indigenous people around funeral times, the sorry business, Baparu, we need to be really conscious of all of that. We need to be authentic. Now, what I didn't tell you, because this is an advanced skill, but in the effective attending, which is the solar, there are also another 2 steps in that. And one of them is to understand the geo, socio, and political stance of both yourself and the other person. Until you understand yourself, what you are willing to accept, who you are, you can't possibly understand and accept where another person is. Now, many of us here, particularly women, because women traditionally have cared for other people for a very long time. It is changing now, but I'm talking traditionally here. A lot of women don't know their favourite colour. They don't know their favourite food. They don't know their favourite music because they've forgotten who they are. It's time for all of us to reconnect with ourselves, to understand that we're all going to have moments of vulnerability. We're all going to have moments of stress. And quite frankly, we're all going to have days where we're completely horrid. Except for me, hey, Paul. Yeah, there will be. He laughs. Yeah. We are all human. We need to be authentic in that. And authentic communication is about saying how you feel. I feel ecstatic when you bring me roses because I'm feeling so down today. Or I feel disillusioned when you leave the microwave door open because the flies all get in. You can use it either way. Practice it, practice it, practice it. It's authentic when it just happens habitually. I feel when you, because 3,000 feeling words. I bet if I said, who can tell me a feeling word that starts with X? It's going to be a difficult one to answer. As homework, go through the alphabet and see if you can pick a feeling for every single letter. And you can do it. Oh, I love that, Paul. I'm able to be authentically horrid. Yes. Yeah. All right. So Chantel.
Megan, thank you for that. Megan, Chantel, lovely Chantel has a question.
Hi, I wondered if you could elaborate a little bit on if you have any advice on how we could try to learn more about ourselves and our values and how you could go about that so you can conduct yourself in the right way.
Yeah, sure. That's a really very important question. Start with, what's your favourite colour, Chantel?
Blue.
What's your favourite food?
Meat.
I love it. Yeah, no judgments. What's the most important thing that's happened to you in life?
Don't know.
What's your favourite author?
Don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Yep. So these are the questions. Now, there's a whole series of critical awareness questions. But if we all begin to question ourselves with the 5 W's and a how, like, oh, why did I just think that? Or who taught me that I love meat so much? Now, how did I learn that? So ask yourself the 5 W's and a how, and that builds your critical awareness. Yeah. There are also the questions I use for critical analysis. So it can go both ways. Yeah, you become aware and then you absolutely analyse. investing in yourself and becoming the best that you can be encourages other people to be the best that they can be. It's modeling. But well done on immediately answering those questions. That was
2
excellent.
of the 4, yeah.
Oh, no, lots of people can't answer the 2, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chantel. And Megan. Now, Hamali in the chat, Megan has asked, do you have any tips on how to tell your manager that their micromanaging is hindering your progress? For instance, they believe that pushing and asking about the report constantly without providing structured support will make it happen.
Yeah, okay. So again, I'd be using the FIR model there and the accountable communication model. Probably the accountable communication model first, I think, because micromanagement is a really tough thing to deal with, and they're usually really tough people, so they appreciate the toughness back. But there's also different models of personality, and it might be worth, excuse me, it might actually be worth having a look online at different personality models. There is a model called choleric, the choleric model, and choleric people are usually micromanagers. And there's a book called Personality Plus that might be worthwhile getting a hold of. There is an online test, so you can actually test which personality you fall into yourself. But the beauty of this model is that it gives you hints on how to deal with choleric personalities or phlegmatic personalities or sanguine. I'm sanguine. Yeah, I'm the person that I forget everything, like where are my car keys, which is so sanguine it's not funny. Where did I put that? Or Paul will say, what did you spend, blah, blah, blah. No idea. Yeah. Because it's not important to me, but give me feelings, I will remember them. Yeah, I am the person who at a party, I will talk to people and people will come up and talk to me. Whereas a cleric person is the exact opposite. They don't get into feelings. They don't get into good times. They want that report done this way and they want it done by tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, so have a look at Personality Plus at the online testing to first work out what you are, and then hints for your personality to be able to deal with the choleric, and use accountable communication in the FIR model.
Fantastic, Megan, thank you. Any other questions for Megan? Okay, Robin, can you recommend any audiobooks or podcasts on these topics? I would like to learn more while walking. Go you, Robin.
Yeah, okay. So I like the positive psychology podcasts. So all you have to do is on whichever platform you prefer to listen on, look up positive psychology and see what comes up, but they are great. My favourite scientist, I guess, in all of this is a dude called Jay Van Bavel. He's on LinkedIn, so for whoever is on LinkedIn, Jay's stuff is fantastic, but it's evidence-based. It's not just skills-based, but he usually links to skills-based papers as well. I don't think, yeah, he's got some podcasts, but as a guest. Brene Brown's stuff, she's got some pretty good podcasts around, which some people love Brene, some people hate her. So you need to just work out, does that style suit you? But positive psychology stuff, there is so much and it is so good that that's what I would prefer to listen to when I'm out walking the dog.
Brilliant. Thank you. Now, while I'm waiting for some more questions in the chat or on people raising their hand, Megan, how would you manage someone who is communicating with someone who's quite entitled? What approach would you take for that?
Oh, we're talking about Andrew, formerly known as Prince?
I wasn't putting anyone in that box.
Yeah. So I would say, starting with the formula for clear communication, that I feel when you because. I feel pushed when you demand that I respect you because I don't even know you, for example. So that's just the formula that I feel when you because. An entitled person won't hear it because the entitled person is right and you're wrong. It's part of this cleric personality stuff. But depending on the air of entitlement, so there could be entitlement from colonialism, for example. That's a different way to deal with it, completely different. So I'd be going all of the non-violent formulas for that one. Or if it's in the workplace, which I'm assuming, Anne, maybe, yeah, okay. So that's personality stuff. And I think the accountable communication and the firm model, because that's the language that those people understand. It's quite hitting without being rude. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Megan. Now I'm aware of time and I'm very grateful, Megan, for your time today. Thank you so much. What an amazing presentation. I'm sure everyone got something out of that, out of all of those models. That was amazing. And hopefully people can practice and get better at communicating, which is what we all want ultimately. Thanks so much for your time. As I said, thank you to everyone else who's online for coming along today as well. Chantel has put the survey in the chat for you. As I mentioned earlier, it would be amazing for us if you could just take a couple of minutes or 1 minute of your time out of today just to fill that out so that we can get a sense of, you know, whether we're hitting the mark for you, what you would like to see us doing differently or better, or what's, you know, what you really are loving about this so that we can make sure we keep delivering for you. So if you can just click on that survey link there and just fill out that form while you've got a couple of minutes spare, that would be amazing. Otherwise, thank you so much and enjoy your weekend, everyone. Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome. See you, everyone.